For anyone that doesn't know the exact dates of the album releases of the Beatles, it would be normal for them to think that this picture was taken maybe 20-22 years after this picture, but the truth is, there's only a 5-year difference between the two. But this was not only a physical change, actually the change in their music was even more unbelievable, because a rock and roll band known for songs like She Loves You, When I Want to Hold Your Hand, a couple years later made A Day in the Life and Strawberry Fields Forever. And then after a couple more years, songs like Helter Skelter and I Want You, She's So Heavy. Believe me when I tell you, you won't see anything even close to this no matter where you look in the music industry. But why did it happen? How come the Beatles jumped from one genre to the other with each album they released? Well, part of it has to do with the nature of music in the 60s. Nowadays, the music industry is a conglomerate of genres that make up the mainstream, and it's been that way since the late 70s. But the 60s were different. Music was diversifying itself, and a ridiculous amount of culture and customs were being injected into the art scene. And since the Beatles were pretty much the epicenter, they absorbed all of it. And then of course drugs and meeting with contemporaries and touring all over the world was definitely another factor, resulting in a totally different mindset every time they got back in the studio. For example, 1965 was Bob Dylan and weed, 1966 was not touring anymore and psychedelics, 1967 was the release of Pet Sounds and the studio innovations in the previous album, 1968 was their trip to India, and I think you get the point. In other words, while they were active, the world was changing as much as they were, making it clear that the band's catalog is not only amazing, but a really good reflection of society at the moment.